The mahogany desk had always been Marcus's throne. From the time he first opened the doors of Whitfield & Cole Law Associates on the corner of 5th and Meridian in downtown Atlanta, that desk had been his altar. Polished, wide, authoritative. The kind of desk that told visitors, before a single word was spoken, that the man sitting behind it had power. And Marcus Whitfield knew exactly how to use power. Renee sat across from that desk now, a pen trembling slightly between her fingers, 3 sheets of paper laid out in front of her under the warm green glow of the brass banker's lamp. She had chosen her green dress carefully this morning. Green for growth, her mother always said. Green for new beginnings. But right now, green felt like the color of a wound that hadn't healed. Behind the desk, no, leaning back in the chair behind the desk with all the arrogance of a man who had never been told no, Marcus laughed. Loud, unrestrained. The kind of laugh that fills a room and leaves no space for anyone else's breath. And perched beside him, her fingers resting on his shoulder like a queen claiming a throne, was Simone. Simone with the blonde finger waves. Simone with the pearl necklace and the navy velvet dress that probably cost more than Renee's first car. Simone, who Marcus had introduced 6 months ago as just a colleague. Simone, who now looked at Renee the way people look at a maid they're about to let go. Renee pressed the pen to the first page. "You don't have to rush," Marcus said, not even looking at her. He was still laughing at something Simone had whispered in his ear, his head thrown back, his eyes crinkled with a joy that Renee had not seen directed at her in over 2 years. "I know I don't have to rush," she thought. "But I want to be done." She had met Marcus Whitfield when she was 24 years old, fresh from Howard University with a degree in business administration and a belief that hard work and love were enough to build something real. He had been 31, already established, already confident, some would say already dangerous. But Renee had seen only the ambition, the drive, the way he looked at her like she was the missing piece of something grand. They had built this law firm together. Not in name. Marcus had made sure of that, but in every other way that mattered. Renee had managed the books for 3 years without salary, reinvesting everything back into the practice. She had taken client calls at midnight. She had driven to Savannah at 2 a.m. to retrieve documents that Marcus had forgotten before a morning deposition. She had turned down job offers, good ones, because Marcus said we're so close, baby, just a little longer. And she had believed him. For 7 years, she had believed him. The bookshelf behind Marcus held the leather-bound volumes of Georgia case law that Renee had ordered, catalogued, and arranged herself. The portrait on the wall, a stern, painted face of some old judge, had been hung by Renee on a Tuesday afternoon while Marcus was out to lunch. The office plants, the client intake system she had built from scratch in a spreadsheet. The reputation management strategy she had written out in a 14-page document that Marcus presented to investors as though the words had come from him. All of it was here in this room, breathing around her like a ghost of herself. And now she was being asked to sign it away. The divorce settlement agreement had been drafted by Marcus's attorney, not a colleague, a stranger, someone who had never met Renee and did not need to. The terms were simple in the way that cruelty is sometimes simple. The business, his. The downtown condo, his. The joint investment account, frozen pending further review, which meant his. Renee would receive the modest savings account, a settlement sum that barely reflected 7 years of unpaid labor, and the car, which still had 32 payments left on it. She had consulted her own attorney, a quiet woman named Patricia who had read through the paperwork with the careful expression of someone delivering a terminal diagnosis. "You could fight this," Patricia had said. "I know," Renee had replied. "But I'm tired." Patricia had looked at her for a long moment. Being tired is a luxury you might not be able to afford, Renee. But here she was anyway. Tired. Signing. Marcus finally glanced over at her as she turned to the second page. Something flickered across his face. Not guilt, exactly. More like the mild inconvenience of a man watching someone slowly exit a room he's already stopped caring about. "Take your time," he said again. "I heard you the first time," Renee said quietly. She did not look up. Simone shifted her weight and smoothed the front of her velvet dress. There was something in her posture, a stiffness, a carefully controlled expression, that Renee had learned to read. Simone was not entirely comfortable. Simone had expected, perhaps, that Renee would cry, would make a scene, would give her the satisfaction of visible defeat. Renee had decided months ago that she would not give either of them that. She signed her name on the second page. Slowly, deliberately, each letter of Renee Whitfield written clearly, because even here, even now, she would not be careless. She thought about her mother, Claudette, who had raised her in a 2-bedroom apartment in southwest Atlanta on a hospital administrator's salary and a set of unspoken rules: walk straight. Speak clearly. Never let anyone see you stumble, not because falling is shameful, but because some people will use your stumble as a stepping stone. She thought about the journal she had been keeping for the past 8 months. Every contribution, every sacrifice, every expense she had covered, every contract she had helped negotiate, every moment she had poured herself into this man's dream as though it were her own. Patricia had that journal now, scanned and saved in 3 separate locations. Marcus thought this was over. Marcus did not know about the journal. He did not know that Patricia had already filed a preliminary motion in Fulton County Superior Court for an equitable distribution hearing based on Renee's undocumented contributions to the growth of Whitfield and Cole. He did not know that 2 former clients had already agreed to provide written testimony about Renee's central role in managing their cases. He did not know that the office manager, a soft-spoken man named Gerald who had worked at the firm for 4 years, had submitted a signed affidavit confirming what everyone in the building already knew, that Renee had run this practice in every way that mattered. This signing today, it was not a surrender. It was a signal. She turned to the 3rd page. Marcus laughed again. At something else now, something on his phone that Simone was leaning in to see. They were already somewhere else. Already celebrating in the private room of their own shared future, a future in which Renee was a footnote, a closed chapter, a cautionary tale for no one. Renee set the pen down for just a moment. She looked around the room. The bookshelf, the portrait, the green lamp glowing warm and steady, and she felt something unexpected move through her chest. Not grief, not anger. Something quieter, something that felt, almost impossibly, like relief. This room is full of me, she thought. And they don't even know it. She picked the pen back up. She signed the final page. She stood, straightened her green dress, and placed the papers in the neat stack that Marcus's attorney had arranged. She picked up her bag, a simple black tote, nothing dramatic, and she turned toward the door. Renee, Marcus said, behind her. She paused. She did not turn around. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said. There was no malice in his voice. That was almost the hardest part. He simply did not care enough for malice. She took one breath. I already know where it is, she said. And she walked out of the room, down the hall, past the reception desk where Gerald gave her a small, steady nod, and out through the glass front doors of Whitfield and Cole Law Associates into the bright Atlanta afternoon. 6 months later, the equitable distribution hearing concluded with a judgment in Renee's favor, a sum that more than tripled the original settlement. The court cited her contributions to the firm's early growth and operational development as substantial and materially undocumented, but amply evidenced by witness testimony. Marcus's attorney filed an appeal. It was denied. Renee used part of the settlement to open her own consulting firm. She named it Claudette Strategies, after her mother. The green lamp from Marcus's office. She bought one just like it. It sits on her own desk now. And it glows just fine.